You have probably seen it dozens of times and never quite figured out what was actually going on. Your cat is sitting there perfectly calm, and then suddenly freezes completely still. Mouth slightly open, expression blank, eyes drifting into the distance, as if time stopped for a few seconds. Most owners assume the cat spotted something scary, picked up a bad smell, or simply zoned out for a moment. But the real explanation is far more extraordinary than any of those, and once you understand what is actually happening, you will never look at that moment the same way again. If that kind of hidden cat science fascinates you, hit the like button right now and subscribe to the channel. Turn on the notification bell. Every week we uncover the most incredible secrets about how your cat actually experiences the world. What happens in that frozen instant is not confusion, distraction, or some kind of brief malfunction. Your cat is actively using one of the most sophisticated sensory systems in the entire animal kingdom. That gesture, mouth slightly parted, lips barely pulled back, jaw almost locked in place, has a specific name in the scientific world. It is called the feline response. And behind that name lies a biological mechanism that has been refined over millions of years of feline evolution. In that precise moment, your cat is not staring at nothing or smelling the air in any conventional sense. It is collecting chemical information from the environment in a way that human beings are simply not capable of doing. It is reading invisible messages floating in the air of your home, embedded in objects you touch, lingering in corners where you spent time, clinging to surfaces other animals brushed against. It is decoding a layer of reality that you cannot perceive at all. The instrument your cat uses to do this is called the Jacobson's organ, also known as the vomeronasal organ, and it is far more remarkable than most people would ever guess. The Jacobson's organ is a sensory structure located in the roof of a cat's mouth, positioned just behind the upper front teeth. It is not part of the conventional olfactory system. It is a completely independent organ with its own dedicated receptors, its own neural pathways, and a direct connection to regions of the brain that process chemical information at an exceptionally deep level. Here's how it works. When a cat opens its mouth slightly and holds that position for a few seconds, it is creating a kind of intake channel for the chemical particles suspended in the surrounding environment. Those particles, which can include pheromones, animal-derived molecules, plant compounds, or even biochemical substances that humans release under specific emotional states, enter through the mouth and travels directly to the vomeronasal organ through two small ducts located in the roof of the palate. Once there, the organ's specialized receptors analyze those molecules with a precision that goes far beyond what conventional smell can achieve. The information then travels to the accessory olfactory bulb, a region of the brain that does not simply process scents, but rather interprets complex biochemical messages carrying data that tells us about behavior, territory, reproduction, danger, and the emotional state of other individuals. In the simplest possible terms, your cat is not smelling. It is reading. So what kind of information can a cat actually read through this system? Far more than most owners would expect. Pheromones are perhaps the most well-known type of message. When another cat passed through a space, brushed against a surface, or marked a territory, it left behind an invisible chemical signature. To human perception, that information simply does not exist. To a cat's vomeronasal organ, it is as clear and detailed as a written note. Your cat can determine whether the other cat was male or female, whether it was in an active reproductive period, whether it was stressed or calm, whether it was young or fully grown, and even estimate roughly how long ago it passed through. But the system does not stop at reading messages from other cats. It also picks up signals left by other animals, detects changes in the chemical composition of the air caused by shifts in temperature or humidity, and identifies substances that humans release through skin and breath when experiencing strong emotions like fear, anxiety, or excitement. This explains something many owners notice without fully understanding. Their cat somehow seems to know how they are feeling before a single word is spoken. The feline response does not happen randomly or in response to just any stimulus. It activates when the cat encounters a chemical signal it considers especially significant or unusual. So if you notice your cat doing that expression near a piece of clothing you left on the floor, near the front door after a visitor came by, or in a corner where another animal regularly sleeps, it is not coincidence. It is processing specific information from that exact location. Something in that spot triggered a chemical signal too complex for a conventional smell to resolve on its own, and the cat switched to its most advanced analytical tool to get a fuller read. It is also extremely common to observe the flamen response in male cats when a female in a reproductive cycle is nearby, even if they are in separate homes with several walls between them. The pheromones a female releases during that period are so potent and specific that they travel through distance and physical barriers, and the male's vomeronasal organ picks them up with extraordinary sensitivity. That cat frozen with his mouth open staring at the wall may be detecting a signal originating several meters away. It is worth making a comparison to fully grasp the scale of what we are talking about. Humans also have a vomeronasal organ, but in us it is essentially non-functional. Over the course of evolution, humans became increasingly dependent on verbal and visual communication, and progressively laid less reliant on chemical signals, so this system gradually became dormant. In cats, the opposite happened. Life in environments where territory, reproduction, and the detection of other individuals depend fundamentally on chemical signals drove the vomeronasal system to develop to extraordinary levels. While humans experience the world primarily through sight and sound, cats experience that same world with an additional chemical layer that is completely invisible to us. Every single time your cat makes that expression, it is accessing a dimension of the environment that you, no matter how hard you tried, could never perceive. That is millions of years of feline evolution at work in a single quiet moment. Understanding this mechanism also changes how we interpret several other cat behaviors. When a new cat arrives in a home and spends hours moving through every room with that interrupted sniffing expression, it is not simply exploring out of curiosity. It is performing a complete chemical mapping of the territory, recording who lived there before, what other animals exist in the surrounding environment, what the emotional atmosphere of the household feels like, and whether any signal suggests conflict or danger. This process can take hours or even days before the cat feels it has gathered enough information to begin relaxing. That is exactly why rushing the adjustment period for a new cat tends to backfire. It needs time to read the environment with all of its systems fully active. Equally, when a cat you have lived with for years suddenly starts performing the flamen response more frequently than usual in specific areas of the home, it can be a signal that something changed in the environment before you noticed it yourself. An animal that entered the yard, a scent drifting in from outside, or even a switch to a new cleaning product can generate a chemical signal new enough to activate that advanced analytical system. There is something genuinely poetic about all of this. We share our homes with these animals every single day, breathe the same air, move through the same rooms, and yet they are perceiving a completely different version of that shared reality. While you see a quiet living room, your cat may be processing a full map of who was there, when, in what emotional state, and whether anything in that environment warrants closer attention. It is not that cats live in a parallel world. They live in the exact same world we do, but with access to layers of information we cannot even begin to imagine. The Jacobson's organ is just one instrument in a sensory toolkit that makes felines truly extraordinary. Their eyes function in near total darkness. Their ears pick up frequencies entirely beyond the human range. Their whiskers detect air pressure shifts subtle enough to navigate in complete blackness. And their vomeronasal organ gives them access to an invisible chemical database of the environment that updates in real time every single time they open that mouth and go still for a few quiet seconds. The next time your cat does that, mouth slightly open, gaze unfocused, completely still for a few seconds. Remember what you just learned. It is not confused. It is not frightened. Nothing went wrong. It is using one of the most advanced sensory analysis systems in the natural world to read information that you're not even able to detect. It is being in that exact moment, exactly what it has always been. A remarkable animal with a perception of the world that quietly and consistently surpasses our own. Cats do not simply live in your home. They live in a version of your home layered with meaning you will never fully access. And that makes them even more fascinating than we already knew. If this video made you see your cat differently, share it with someone who has a cat, give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell. See you in the next one.